This podcast is sponsored by Aleppo Restaurant on Wonderland Road North and A. Miller George Funeral Home, where every life is celebrated, and their sister company, Cremation London and Middlesex, both family-owned and operated.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever you may be listening. We welcome you back to another edition of the Vicar's Crossing podcast. My name is Rob Henderson, and I'm the rector and priest at Holy Trinity St. Stephen's Anglican Church in London.
Well, my name is Kevin George, and I am the incumbent and priest at St. Aidan's Anglican Church on Oxford Street West.
You got a fancier title than me?
Well, I think you get the same one. You want a piece of me? We've had our name changed to incumbent.
Incumbents now,
You-
yes.
You were at that meeting.
I was.
Well, neither of us attended, actually. But
I go to meetings, I just don't listen.
weren't you and I and Ian doing a podcast while they made that decision?
Yeah, exactly, we were.
But
That's
we
why.
don't know
That's
what's
why.
going on.
Good. Well, it's good to be back. We've had a bit of a break over the last few weeks. Last time we were together was when we had Michael Corrin down. We had a good chat with him, and then
Absolutely.
that opportunity to have him speak that night. So a few weeks have gone by, and we've had a little vacation here and there, and we're getting back at it, getting ready for the fall. So, and Ian's back. Ian's back
I am
from
back.
camp.
Hello.
Ian is literally back from camp, isn't he? Didn't I just hear him say when he came in, you like an hour earlier finished your job for the summer?
Yeah, an hour ago, I was finishing my job at camp. So,
Wow. How
yeah.
was it?
It was a wild roller coaster of a summer.
A good summer?
It was a very good summer, but it was a roller coaster of a summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
What you did the music programming or something like that?
I was the music, art, and drama programmer.
Yes?
That's
Music,
what I
art,
did.
and drama.
What are
Yeah.
you teaching them in music?
Here's the thing. So, one of the things that I found very difficult when programming for music and drama
Yeah.
was that it's not normally expected at camp. It's usually crafts, right?
Yeah.
So, and music and drama are like artistic fields where the people who want to be there will be amazing and do great things, but it's hard for you to sign up to do it at camp, and
Right.
there's a lot of people who don't enjoy doing drama games and
Right.
and learning about music theory, right?
Right.
So if you try to do music and drama stuff, people won't be interested and then won't do it.
So you
and
got to
won't
couch it in
participate.
something else?
Yeah, so I did a lot of crafts sort of things that I
Yeah.
try to work into
Work some
to
music
the
into
theme
it,
and
a little drama
yeah,
into it.
Exactly. So mostly crafts, but mostly arts really. And then I tried as my best I could to work everything else into that.
Nice.
So,
Good
yeah.
man. Good man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome back. We want to say hi to our illustrious sponsors here at the Vicar's
Yeah.
Crossing, who, without their help, we would not let this magic happen whenever
right.
we get together. So, first off, I want to say hi to our good friends at A. Miller George Funeral Home, where every life is celebrated, and their sister company, Cremation London and Middlesex, both family-owned and operated. And strangely enough, I did not plan this, but when I jumped out of the car to run in to do the podcast today, I had a Miller George Funeral Home pen in my car.
Well, that's
So
the
this
Holy
is-
Spirit right there.
This is the one right here.
Dave,
Yeah.
when did you slip that
Dave,
into?
Dave must have come in the middle of the night through some pens
That's
in my
right.
car.
Dave
So-
put some pens in your car in order to make sure you remembered.
So I want to say hi to those folks there today, and of course our good friends at Aleppo Restaurant on Wonderland Road in London as well that has been helping us out. So
Incredible
that's
shawarma.
great. Shawarma,
Incredible tawuk, tabbouleh, fattoush.
love it.
You got to get all that. You get your a little bit of I don't know. You name it, you get it, man. It's
You
all
get
good
it.
right there.
You get it all right there.
Ourselves free. We're on the move, right? So here we are at Bernie's Bar and Grill, where Ainsley, beautiful Ainsley, has just delivered a beverage to Rick.
Thank you, Ainsley.
And we're out in the bar today, so if you hear some of the background noise, you know what's going on. Is we're hoping to do this a little more often now. We were thrilled to be at Crossings for as long as we were in a stationary location, but out and about. Karam Deeb and his dad, Brian, own both this Bernie's and the Bernie's in Byron,
Byron,
where
yeah.
our friend Rick, who you're going to meet shortly, visited on his way here.
Yep.
And
Yep.
But the Bernie's is a place well known to Kevin George and Rob Henderson. We've solved a lot of problems here, haven't we?
We've
Rob?
solved a lot of problems. We've lost a lot of money in our hockey pool.
Yeah.
to a guy from England, which I'm
It's
embarrassed
true,
about.
yeah, it's
Can you
true.
believe these two Canadians lost the hockey
we
club
lost
to a
to
guy
Morgan.
from England?
Morgan Sherlock.
Yeah,
Soccer, I
Morgan
can
took. I
understand.
know exactly.
Morgan's had to learn about hockey.
Yeah,
and we lost.
and we
to him.
lost our hockey pool, so
Terrible.
there'll be revenge this
There
year.
will be revenge, and we, a lot has happened here. In fact, we remember being here one night, and they had to get a guy removed from here because he was going to beat myself and Morgan into a pulp. They had to lock the door so he wouldn't come back in. I can't make this shit up, folks.
Yeah. Other than that, it's been a nice, smooth ride.
Yeah,
here,
it's been a
Burns.
smooth ride here at Burnley's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Oh, jeez.
Good. Well, we're glad we're back together again. We found out a little bit about what Ian's doing in the summer. What have you been doing this summer? You went out east,
Well, I did
know,
a little
for
bit
a while.
of travel. Yeah, we were down in St. Louis for a bit, which was really interesting at this time of Trump. Just sort of hearing some of the stories of what people are going through down there.
Yeah.
We ran. I experienced both ends of it. I'm the sort of guy who goes right into the heart of the inner city when I'm there. So I like to go to the local African American barber shop and hear what's going on, and had a couple coffees with street people and stuff like that. So you get that end of things. It's really quite a story. And then on the other end, we were out at the Forest Park and up on the hill, which is the Italian village. I mean, you can go to St. Louis and think there's never a problem in America, or you can talk to people and figure out just a mess that it is right now. Yeah.
We should have rented a minivan, put all of our equipment into,
and gone to St. Louis together.
Gone to St. Louis, and it'd be great.
Yeah. Well, folks, if anyone out there listening wants to buy us the VW van, we have this. We have the ultimate
vision,
dream
yeah.
as a pale blue VW van with the cartoon of us on the side, and we want to take this thing mobile. So
Go on the road. Yeah.
But it was good, and then when I got back, I turfed off out east to the Holy Land of Newfoundland, as I like to call it, and I happened to be there when Jimmy Kimmel figured out what Dildo Newfoundland is, and it was
yeah, that went a bit viral, didn't it?
yeah, it did. I actually have a shirt now. My nephew Roger and my niece Angie both own a brewery in Dildo, and the Dildo Brewing Company and Museum. Shout out to those guys. And they actually got one shirt given to them from the Jimmy Kimmel promotion, and they sent it to me.
Oh, really?
So I have the shirt. It says, Jimmy loves dildo, Jimmy for mayor. And I showed one of the girls out at one of the bars I go to, and she said, if I saw you walking downtown, I think your name was Jimmy and you were a pervert. But thankfully, I'm not Jimmy. It is a town. It's a beautiful community. And if you're one of the listeners worldwide, if you have an opportunity to visit Dildo, Newfoundland, you'll find a beautiful community with beautiful people and a wonderful time. All kinds of neat things to do there, boat rides and Dildo Island and all that. It's
Well,
a great
Ian,
time.
that's our road trip then.
I'm so
our-
down.
No offense to St. Louis, but we got to get out east.
Now, where did you
Hey.
go, Rob? You did a little bit
We
of...
went up north for a little while to Tobermory, spent a week up there.
Nice.
My wife
Beautiful
and I.
area.
I just love it up there, up to the tub, and
Yeah.
did some sightseeing and boat rides and beaches, and just it was a nice quiet week, and I really like going up there, so it was nice getaway. Yeah.
So we got a friend with us today. We got, there's a project coming up that we're going to talk about today, just because we can, and we have a podcast, and we've got a project coming up, so why not pump
So
it?
we can talk about it.
We're going to talk about 55 Hours for Hope in a bit, but one of the charities that we're pumping is Jesse's Journey. The other one is Inova, and because we sort of threw this together today, because that's the way we're wont and how we behave, there wasn't anybody from Inova ready to pop in here today, but Rick Moss, who's been with Jesse's Journey for almost the beginning. I guess you probably went on the road, didn't you, Rick?
When John was on the road, I was back here in London with radio stations back here.
Oh, you were working
And so
media.
we worked
Peter
with Peter
Garland.
to get Peter Garland with John on both walks,
Right.
the walk with Jesse and the walk across Canada.
Yeah.
So Peter joined him at the beginning and a couple of stops along the way.
Okay.
And so we would broadcast every day, not dissimilar to what
Right.
the paper was doing,
Yeah.
running a daily story. We were running daily stories and updates on John and his progress. So we were more of the home team than away.
Okay. But Rick has known John forever.
Yeah.
Yes, almost.
He's now
Almost forever.
he's now the director of advocacy and partnerships with Jesse's Journey. He's a past director, I believe, executive director of Jesse's Journey, and so we're glad you've come to spend time with us today, because being one of the recipients of the monies we're raising for 55 Hours, we're glad to have somebody here to talk about what that looks like.
Well, it's our pleasure, and first of all, a very sincere thank you from all of us involved, because this is huge, and I think that when you look at what you've started out doing here, it's an opportunity for people to take a look at this particular project and say, wow, and it's a big wow. And then you say, what could I do? Not everybody, by any stretch of their imagination, and we've seen this in the Duchenne world, is prepared to go front and center, right? And that's a good thing. But those who are, a John Davidson,
Yes, yeah.
yourself, Kevin, the kinds of
I hate
people
being
who
front
can
and center.
the hate
Yeah, right.
Everybody get pause for laughter.
the kind of people who can initiate change. And the other thing I thought when I heard about this project, other than the fact that I thought you might be just a little left of center.
Mad. I'm a little mad.
Yeah. Anyway, besides that, I thought, what a wonderful concept, the umbrella of hope for the organizations. Because what is our product? What do we give? What do we provide? And, you do it from the church, from the church perspective.
Yeah.
We do it from a disease perspective.
Yeah.
But where would we be without hope?
That's
and I
right.
think,
And if you look at ANOVA, for a
Yes,
lot of the people
exactly.
there that are the women who are needing relief
Yep.
and hope and a sense of purpose.
absolutely.
Yeah. It's a
And
great thread through the whole thing.
Oh, it
you've
is,
got to have, I think, those connections. And some people diminish the word hope.
Right.
And some people maybe don't feel hope is really a reality. But I can tell you from the experience when I saw John and Jesse, and when Jesse was diagnosed, and really and truly, John and Shireen, if they were sitting here today, would tell you there was no hope.
Right.
Can you imagine being
Well,
a
it's
family?
a hopeless feeling.
Exactly. There was no research going on. There was none of this was happening. So I thought, when you were talking about this particular project, we see how that's changed now. And I thought, what a fascinating concept of hope for all the organizations involved. I'm fortunate to be involved, by the way. But just a great opportunity for us, and an opportunity for our families and for your congregation and the many, many people that ANOVA supports
Yep.
to talk about hope and give reasons for hope.
And it expands so much
Legitimate.
farther than that, too, because as this has kind of progressed from just an idea of at the very beginning, it was
Yeah.
probably right here at Bernie's that
Yep,
Kevin said,
it
I just
was.
had this idea. It started from something that was, well, I'm just going to talk for a certain amount of time, and because I'm a talker, and it just started there, to all the connections that have been made throughout the community.
Yeah.
Not only just Jesse's Journey and ANOVA and St. Aidan's, but many of the different
huge.
churches and parishes and different people that have come to sit on
incredible.
the planning committee from different avenues of the community as well, and that's all just sprung and connected in a lot of different ways. So this has gone way beyond just a few
Far
hours
more
of
than I would have
chatting to
imagined at the
raise a
beginning.
few dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
More on that. But you brought us almost right into the heart of our podcast before we get to do our silliness.
That's right. Yeah, we got to be silly for a minute.
Yeah.
We got to be silly for a minute. So we got this thing, Rick. We call the
Canon
Canon
Tavish
Tavish
Memorial.
Cup.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so
I
we got
see.
this trophy Kevin and I are vying to win.
Uh-huh.
And I have no idea how long we're doing this until
Well,
I don't know
into-
how long the season is.
I think
we're
I think we're getting near the end. We're getting near the end. I think.
All right.
I think maybe we'll when we get back to regular broadcasting, where
All
we're
right.
getting one in every week or two, or in the next little bit, we might do 2 or 3 more, and then we need to call it.
I think so.
So we need to pick a date, probably.
Just
Okay.
tell me it's
Well,
not as long as the hockey playoff season.
No.
No.
Okay.
We won't be
Or
going
an
into
American
June,
election.
yeah.
Or an American
election. Yeah.
So let's pick a date. Let's say by the end of September.
End of September.
Okay.
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 So
fair
whoever's
enough.
in the lead at the end of
Heck.
September
Takes
will
home the
be
cup.
awarded the Canon Tavish Cup.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
For the most trivial priest.
Exactly.
Who's the host of this segment?
This host of this segment is the illustrious producer Ian.
I've
Producer
never been
Iain.
called illustrious before. That's a new one.
Everybody gets one.
So, how do I explain this? So this is the like they pretty much did my job for me. But
well, that's what we do.
yeah. So I will have our esteemed guest choose a category from the 40th anniversary Trivia Pursuit game. So do that now, please, for each of our priests.
Okay. So, Rob, you're going to be red.
All
Rob
right.
is going to
I
be
am
red. That's sport. Or no, what is red? Is there red? There's no red.
Oh, there's like, it's kind of a dark
Are
pink.
you looking at the second one?
I am.
Pink.
Pink. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dark
That's
pink.
it. Okay, a
fair
dark
enough.
pink.
It's a dark pink.
Got it.
Goes with my eyes.
I hope my color senses haven't
Okay,
gotten here.
what am
And
I getting?
Well, you're going to be green.
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 So I'm the science guy.
Science guy.
Call me
Kevin Nye.
Kevin Nye,
the
for
science guy. Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Kevin.
I will
Kevin,
ask-
come nigh. You are the science guy.
Science guy.
I will ask Rob first to
Okay.
change it up.
And then what happens is he's got to wait. To
He's
answer.
got to wait to hear your question.
And what
then
year is
he'll
this,
answer
Ian?
first. This is 1986.
We're up to 1986.
1986.
I think the thought was we'd get to the end of the 40th, but we can't go that long. This is torturous.
I'll be dead by then.
And my brother says I'm an idiot. My brother Daryl says he's been listening to this and he's none too impressed with the fact that I don't know these answers.
All right, so Rob, what movie, the highest grossing and flying film of the year, gave us the ballad "Take My Breath Away" by Berlin?
Oh, 1986.
Okay, I can think about that for a sec, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because you got to ask first, Mr. Leader.
That's right.
No, let me ask your question first, and he has to answer first. All right.
Okay, so that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kevin, what is the English translation of Mir, the name of the space station the Russians launched in February? You have three options. Is it Peace, is it Pioneer, or is it Progress?
Jesus, Murphy. Okay.
So,
Mir.
yeah, that's the word.
Peace, Pioneer, or Progress?
We have to
Well, I'd be interested to hear what Robbie Kasha has got to say about
There's
"You
two
Take My
movies
Breath
in my
Away."
head, and
You
the movie,
take my
the
breath
song is
away.
Berlin. You take my breath away.
Yes.
I got two movies in my head. And I got to pick one.
I know the one.
I'm
I know
gonna
the answer.
go
Why can't I?
with,
Can I have your question?
no.
You want to switch?
No, I don't want to switch because at least I got it to 50-50. I would, I'm going to say Top Gun.
That is correct.
Damn it, that's correct.
That is correct.
Yes.
It made 176 million domestically. Fun facts.
And there's another one coming
I
out.
phone- can I
Tom
phone-
Cruise is
it's a
flying
reboot.
Flying
right.
a
Reboot.
walker or
That's right.
something, isn't
Yeah,
he? You
yeah.
I did see
puts
that.
his walker
He's like
up to
he's the commander now, or
commander
something.
now. Yeah.
So can I call a friend? Can I call my brother Daryl?
No,
No. Okay.
that's way too complicated.
So tell me the three options again.
So, English translation of Mir, I guess, the name
Mir,
of the
yeah.
space station
Yeah.
the Russians launched. Either Peace, Pioneer, or Progress.
I'm gonna go with B, Pioneer.
The answer is Peace.
Oh, for God's sake, I can't.
Man, I think I'm two up on you.
You're that's 4-2 now.
It's 4-2.
I apologize to the entire George clan for my lack of intelligence. Well, thank you, Producer Ian. Now it's time for our other segment, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Our big segment,
Which big segment was that? Did we rehearse this?
the AIA segment.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I forgot about AIA.
Yeah.
God, we've been way too long. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Ask Ian Anything.
Ooh, wow, those sound
man.
effects, eh? Wow. Asking anything. Well, we have a very important question that's been emailed into us today to Ian. This is relative to again, this is a popular subject. Somebody else asked earlier in the spring, but we're getting closer now to the fall election. Summer is upon us. You can tell now that all the MPs are out in full force, kicking around. They're showing up at a lot of events. They're almost pre-election electioneering.
I'm seeing a lot of faces on buses.
They're on buses,
Lots of buses.
and park benches.
And park benches.
Yeah. This question is relative to a billboard which popped up this week across Canada and major cities. Maxime Bernier is the leader of a party that's called the People's Party of Canada. He defected from what is the Conservative Party of Canada a year ago now, and he started a very right-wing, far-right party. And as a part of one of his supporting groups, I think it's called True North. They call them a PAC in America, but a group that supports him have put billboards up across Canada, which we've just learned today the company Patterson that owns those billboards are going to take down because there's such a backlash. But the billboards say, there's a picture of Maxime Bernier, the leader, and then next to it are the words, "Say no to mass immigration." And so it's an anti-immigration message that this party is espousing. So the question to you today, Ian, from one of our listeners is, how do you feel about immigration with this upcoming election coming? Is this an important thing for you? Is it important for us to be present to people around the world? Should we, or are you excited by those billboards that say no to mass immigration?
I'm laughing because I just came back from camp where I haven't been in touch with the outside world.
Well, I'm
So
letting
this
you
is the
know
first
what's
time
going on
hearing
right
about
now.
this.
He's been in the woods for 3 months.
Since you came out of the woods, let me tell you, while you were in the woods, Maxime Bernier has shifted us far to the right.
All right.
Say no to mass immigration. How do you feel about that?
Say no to mass immigration. Wow, it's ridiculous.
man.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There it is.
There you
It's
go.
like it's like going back. I feel like we're going backwards, kind of like with Trump, and he's like, let's build a wall. It's like, no, it's ridiculous, and we just got to be loving, man. In this time, we should all become hippies.
I agree, man.
Yeah. But
And
I think it's
frightening,
ridiculous,
though, isn't it?
and it is frightening that people like that are running for this. I really hope they don't win, and I think the idea of it being called the People's Party of Canada means that
Which
it has
people?
it has the idea of the people in mind, but those people
Populism.
are not the one. Those people aren't they're like the loud minority, I guess, right? Of dumb
It's the
people.
let me just say, it's the crackers.
Is the
Yeah.
crackers.
It's the,
Whoa.
it's the white folk. I mean, it's scary stuff.
Yeah,
and
it is.
I just think when I heard it, I was like, and one of the interesting things to me was in Halifax, there's a chocolatier who's a Syrian refugee who's got one of the most successful upstart businesses in Halifax right now. Walked out of his chocolate shop the other day to see that sign up on a billboard. This guy came as a refugee 3 years ago. His life was destroyed back in Syria. Came here and has started up a business employing people here in Canada. And he walks out to see a billboard that says, say no to immigration, basically.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
Canada has a stereotype of being kind, so let's keep it that way, and we can become like a huge, like we're like a melting pot of everyone is
That's
sort of
right,
coming
man.
to Canada because it's I want to say it's the place to be, really, and it's just if we just kind of like stir it around and get
My
people
heritage
together.
is not from here.
no, mine either.
It's from somewhere over in Europe.
No, my heritage is from Newfoundland.
Yeah. yeah. It's the dawn of time.
My people are Welsh, and my people come from the land where we come and conquer people and abuse them and take their land and
Yeah.
leave them. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
But anyway, I say, Rob, you and I should start a campaign, and Ian should be the candidate.
I think that's a good idea. I
Yeah.
think you'd do well in office.
We could manage his campaign. What could go wrong?
I had a-
absolutely nothing.
I had a politics teacher who said the people who should run for office will not because
That's correct.
because they know that that's not what they should be doing.
Yeah.
It's
Integrity usually causes people not to run.
yeah, it's like I don't want to run for office because I don't know. I don't feel like I'm prepared to run for office.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
You know, if there was a platform for your ideas that you express to your constituents, and you could follow through on those without any pressure from the party, from the bureaucrats, from all those other sources, you'd feel differently about politics.
Sure.
But when you are there, I think you find you're pressed to, this is the X way, the Y way, the Z way, whatever the party happens to be, fall in line. But I wanted to, but I thought I could when I got here, and I'm sure that there is, and listen, I'm not being totally negative on this, even if it sounds a little bit that way. But I do think when you get there, I think probably most, if they were a little idealistic, the individuals arriving are disappointed.
Yeah. Well, I think they suck at Eddie in a hurry.
Yeah, and I think, you know,
Doesn't take
how
long.
can we work around that? Because, you know, in what you're doing, all we are is pumped up by people, right? We're encouraged by people, the connections that we're making, the work that you're doing. It's supportive. It's not, we're not tearing down. We're not being negative. We're not, you know, it's a positive experience. So
Well, you're right, Rick.
So true.
So where are we at, Rob? What
So-
we get together for today, anyway?
Where we're at is, we do want to find out a bit more about the event itself, 55 Hours for Hope. There's a lot of people that are from the London area perhaps have been hearing about this because it's been getting some play here, but we also have a lot of listeners that are outside the area. So let's find out a little bit more about what's going to be happening. We kind of mentioned that the beginning of this took place in just conversations around, Kevin, what can Kevin do to perhaps raise some money for Nova and Jesse's journey, and he had said to us at Bernie's here one day that story. I'm telling your story, but story of him being at home with his dad, and Kevin couldn't fix anything if he was
If I
paid for
tried.
it. Yeah, exactly. Not very handy. And his father said something to the effect of, "Well, thank God, boy, you can talk."
That's right.
Right?
He did.
Yeah.
He said, "It's a good job you can talk, because if you wouldn't talk, you wouldn't eat."
You wouldn't eat. Yeah.
And,
And the kind of the light went on, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so wait a minute.
My brothers can all build an arsehole in a cat, every one of them, and I can't do a damn thing. So that was his expression. Was I was trying to help him build a boat. I was home visiting from Windsor, and he was out there. Yeah, he says, "What do you? Jesus, you're in the way." He says, "You're in my light. You're in your way. It's a good job you can talk, because if you couldn't talk, you wouldn't eat."
So from that came this idea of what would it be like to maybe try to
How
break
long
a
can
talking record. And,
how long can one
how
talk?
can one talk? And I think the world record in Guinness was something around 52
It was 53 hours.
53 hours.
So the deal was, it was a guy in Florida, and he was a pastor. Which, when I looked it up, and I said, "Well, how long has someone talked?" There's a pastor in Florida whose name I'm now forgetting. I should have looked it up before we started recording. But anyway, he producer Iain will check into it while we chat. And anyway, this guy didn't. It was 2015, and he preached for 53 hours. And at that, he raised over $100,000 for local drug treatment in his city. And anyway, I read that and I got very excited. I thought, 53 hours, that's no big deal. I could do that. I got to tell you, as time has gone on,
It's a long time.
it's a long while.
It's a long time.
So anyway, I went with 55, and then last year, as many of the local people know, I rode my bike 2,200 kilometers to raise money for Jesse's journey and for the church. And anyway, between Catherine Ann, my wife, who likes to have time with me, and my rear end, who doesn't like to be dunched on a seat, I knew it wasn't going to happen this year. So, what could I do? And I did land on that talking thing, and I talked to her first, which was a better plan than last year, where I announced on Twitter I was riding 2,200 kilometers. And she thought I should have talked to her first. I think she was right.
Yeah.
You think she was right, Rick?
Yeah, I kind of.
Yeah, I think so too. So anyway, I was wrong on that one. So I thought, okay, well, let me talk. So I told Catherine Ann, I said, "Catherine Ann, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to preach. I'm going to talk for." She said, "Hear me out. I'm going to talk for 55 hours with no sleep." She said, "You're mad." I said, "I know that."
I know that, but I'm going to talk.
But that's what I'm going to do.
hours.
And she said, "No, you can't do that." I said, "Well, Catherine Ann, it's not jumping out of a plane. It's not riding a bike. It's not just something for spectacle's sake. It's what we do." And then I told her about this guy who, God bless producer Iain, has looked it up. Pastor Zach Zender, double Z, of Mount Dora, Florida. And he set the longest speech marathon record. He was only 31, mind you, when he went 53 hours and 18 minutes. So my thought was, well, I'll go 55 and I'll beat it, right? So I came over here one day. You're right, we're at Bernie's here. It was myself and Rob Morgan. I said, "Guys, this is what I'm thinking." And you know what they said?
What did they say?
They said, "I'm mad."
You're mad.
It's funny. Do you see a pattern here, Kevin? That's all.
Yeah, I'm starting to set in. Anyway, I went ahead with it, and then it took a little while to sort of get registered as somebody who can apply for the Guinness record, because he set a Guinness record, which I did. I finally got registered, and they're not easy to get a hold of. It was a whole problem with their webpage. Eventually, they emailed me, and I got my account. And then when I looked it up, since the guy has done 53 hours, some dude at that point had done 100 hours. And then I looked.
He's mad.
He's mad.
Whoa.
And now, since then,
Stark
like
raving.
this year, in 2019, a guy has gone 120 hours speaking without
Amazing,
rest.
isn't it? Yeah.
So, at first, I was very dejected, and I came to Bernie's and drank beer. And but truthfully, the more I thought about it, the more I thought it doesn't matter what Guinness does. And the other part is that the other speakers, this guy Zach Zender from Florida, did 53 hours of real reflection on all the books of the Bible as the theme he took, and he did his thing. What I'm doing is also biblical, and it's about faith, and it's the art. I mean, homiletics and preaching is an art itself. The others who've gone on to do this have done something different than that. They've given speeches about whatever. They've read from long text. They've done all kinds of things that really wouldn't qualify as preaching. And so to my mind and to what I know is I know nobody else in this country, certainly I believe nobody else in the world, will have actually offered a religious sermon for 55 hours. And then I've been very fortunate because one of the first people who agreed to actually say, yeah, I want to help out with that is Rob Henderson, my buddy and my co-host here. So we started to pull a group of people together, and we began planning, I'm going to say in May, June.
Yeah, thereabouts.
And things have taken off. I mean, I don't know if you want to say a word about the group we got, Rob, but...
Yeah, well, we got a great group around the table, including Rick here, who's jumped on board from Jesse's Journey, and representatives from Anova who've been on board over the last little while. Former Mayor of London, Matt Brown, is kind of chairing things for us, and he's been great in helping us organize and things like that. Ian's dad over here, Rob Stevenson, been generous enough to be able to offer office space where he works, so that we can.
We meet up in a high tower.
Yeah,
we
high
overlook
tower
the city
over
when
at
we meet.
London Place, the 20th floor or whatever, 19th floor.
Yeah.
And who am I forgetting? Matt Martin, who's a priest out in
one of our colleagues in
has been helping us organize as well. And
Susie Hagen, who's from. She works at Anova, but is offering her free time on this as well.
Yeah, outside of that.
We've known Susie. Both Rob and I have known Susie through church.
Through church.
Oddly enough. Not that Susie is much of a churchgoer, she would tell you. Susie, maybe you should think about that if you're listening to this podcast. Susie, maybe you need to get your ass out to church. But nonetheless, Susie's parents, Susie's mom and her stepdad are well known to. Rob was their priest, actually, in Essex.
Yeah, for a few years. So yeah, all that together, and we pulled our team together and started organizing, and Ron Gulka over at St. Aidan's has been doing some work around preparing this big day, which is coming up for 3 days, which is now coming up September 11th, 12th, and 13th. So the nitty-gritty of the 3 days is that Kevin's going to be talking and preaching for 55 hours straight with no sleep. But around that, there's some other things going on. We want to really make it a festival atmosphere, invite people to come with their families and have different things for them. So we're planning a few things, including entertainment and a children's night on the Wednesday night, and a big concert on Friday night when it all wraps up. There'll be a food truck there to feed everybody. We've been fortunate to get sponsorship from Steam Whistle, and they're going to be having a little beer garden where you can go in and get a drink or a pop or whatever you want, just to sit and listen to Kevin or wander around a little bit.
Maybe we should probably give a shout out to our sponsors, I guess. It'll take me a minute because there's a few of them.
There's a lot of
them.
But
our media sponsor actually is CJBK 1290 and Talk Radio. Those of you who know me know I do a roundtable spot there every Thursday, and I've been pumping this event there. But in fact, Ken Eastwood from the morning show will be broadcasting live on the Thursday the 12th and Friday the 13th from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. from the event. They're our media sponsor. We have 2 gold sponsors, $5,000. Lutheran Social Services London, which is an incredible organization which gives money across the city for a whole bunch of projects, and have supported Anova previously. Have given $5,000 to this event, as well as our friend Peter Jenke from OE Canada Incorporated Digital Solutions. And Peter actually saw me at the walk in May. I was at the walk I announced at the end of May this event at the walk for Jesse's Journey. Right. And at the end of it, Peter Jenke, who's the owner of OE, walks up to me and he says, I want to sponsor your event. So I pull out a piece of paper for him to write like a personal sponsor. He says, no, you don't understand. I want to give you $5,000 and be one of your gold sponsors. And this coming off of being one of the title sponsors for the walk.
For the walk, absolutely.
And the weekend.
Wonderfully generous.
Incredibly generous to Jesse's.
Very so, very much so.
Our silver sponsors, we have 2 of them. Huron at Western, our alma mater for myself and Rob, and soon to be the school of Producer Iain's girlfriend.
That's correct, yes. Starting at Huron.
Going there on a full scholarship because she's brilliant.
Yeah, she is.
She's apart from dating Iain, she's a very bright girl. And the other $2,500 sponsor are actually our friends Gerald and Betty Fraser from Essex, Ontario, individual sponsor who came in at $2,500. So. And then our bronze sponsors include Tim Hortons, which have also sponsored the opening ceremony that we're having at 10 o'clock ahead of starting.
Wednesday 10 o'clock.
But they've sponsored $1,000. All of our bronze sponsors are $1,000. Dina Ratto from Peak Realty. Waring Electrical, which is a upstart electrical company. People I know. They've got a wedding coming up next year that I'm going to be performing. So Josh and his beautiful bride Kate. Carol from Hyde Park Care Pharmacy, a brand new pharmacy opened in Hyde Park. They were open 2 days when I walked in and saw her, and she committed $1,000 to this project. Porcino Restaurant, which I love about Porcino's, is I went in to see the Gino, the owner in there, and he said, I'd been in to drop the paper off, and when I went in the second day, Gino said, you're the guy who's going to talk for 55 hours? And I said, yeah. He said, before you say anything else, I need to tell you, I threw your paper in the garbage. And I said, well, we can fix that, Gino. Yeah. So we had a little chat. It began with, did I see you on the TV this weekend espousing rights for gays and lesbians? And Gino is an Italian Catholic. And I said, yes. And he said, and I waited to see what was coming back. He said, I like that. And he said, let's talk about abortion. So we had a chat about that. How do you feel about priests marrying? So we had a chat about that. How do you feel about women being ordained in the church? We had a chat about that, and he said, I'll give you $1,000. So thank you, Gino. Our friends out at Union Pub Company, where we last recorded when Michael Corm was in town, brand new business. Stephen and Christian. Christian is the owner there, Stephen the manager. Kebabji, which is in LaSalle and Essex. Waddy, our buddy Waddy, that Rob and I know from our time in Windsor, Essex. Dicker and Associates, our friend John Dicker, he and his dad and their company are a financial and tax consulting business, $1,000. Edward Jones, Nick Borisavlevich, and if you can say that 10 times fast, Joe Bondi from Windsor, Essex. Steam Whistle has come in and donated beer for us for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Right.
So we don't know what that's going to be worth until it's all done. London Family Foot Clinic, Dr. Amanda Cates, who makes my feet absolutely magnificent. She's sponsored for $1,000. Wonderful. Our friends at the London Muslim Mosque have come in at $1,000 sponsorship. I was just there yesterday. They do such good work over there. They did a barbecue yesterday in support of OEV, the Old East Village, and the explosion we had there. Yeah. Our friend Sharif from Auto Shop Center, a used lot just out on East Dundas. The Church Key, what a great restaurant that is. Mm-hmm. Peter and Vanessa have been very kind there. Jackie over at Burke Flowers has given $1,000. The people at Shawarma Pita Palace have given $1,000. Our friends at St. James Westminster have given $1,000. Oxford Barbershop, which makes me look as adorable as I do, they've given $1,000. Porky's Barbecue Hearth and Spa, if you need your hot tub or your barbecue. George over there has jumped in at $1,000. Loblaws out at South London has given us $1,000. Bernie's Bar and Grill, where we sit right now, $1,000 sponsor. Wonderful. Molly Maid, you need your house cleaned. Trisha Lister, who owns that company, she's given $1,000. Popeye's Chicken, who doesn't need a bit of fried chicken? And it's halal, folks. Is sponsored us for $1,000. Active Green and Ross, where you need to get your car fixed and your lube oil filter done. They've given up $1,000.
My New Mechanics.
Yes, your New Mechanics. Wow. That's right.
Oh yeah.
How much do they save you?
They saved me $500.
$500 to change a light bulb.
To change a light bulb. Long story, but they saved me $500. Right. And I'm going back every time now.
That's right. Byron Freehouse, another place where actually they visited there earlier today for an appropriate adult beverage. One of our sponsors, Harris Funeral Home, sponsoring 55 Hours, and Remark, which has always been helpful to St. Aidan's. That is all our corporate sponsorship, and a whole ton of private sponsors to take us to about $72,000 right at this moment.
Yeah, and we're not even at the event yet.
No, so that's terrific.
It's been wonderful, Eric. Terrific. It's just been incredible.
Our original goal was $65,000. We're on the drive to 65. We hit that, and now we're in overdrive to 85.
And one of the things, too, I wanted to mention about this is I was mentioning earlier about the community connections. Kevin is going to get a 5-minute break every hour on this, so people know. And during that 5 minutes, we've been fortunate enough to have folks willing to jump in and continue the talking, continue to fill those 5 minutes. And we've got representatives from like other clergy that we know that have been generous enough to come out and take up 5 minutes of preaching here and there.
The first guy who pops up on this in the guest preaching?
Who is it? Oh, that's me.
Rob Henderson.
That's right. Yeah. So, I've been doing that, and some other representatives from different agencies in and around the London area. So there's that community spirit again, and musicians that are going to come in and play for 5 minutes and get a little music going as well.
It's been a great community building event that way. Yeah. And this idea, actually, I have to give a shout out to Barry Craig at one of our silver sponsors. Huron University, when we met and I did the ask, he suggested to me, why don't you fill those 5-minute breaks you get, because I get 5 minutes off an hour, why don't you fill those with people? And Zach down in Florida, he didn't do that. So Zach, if you're listening, tough shit, buddy. We're doing something better. But I thought that was a great idea. And so we've got Rob, we've got Wendy Menzel from St. John's Arva, we've got our Archdeacon Sam Thomas, we've got our former Bishop Bob Bennett, we've got John Marsh, my good friend from out west, who looks like Gandalf. We have a great video of him.
We have a good video of him.
What does he say? What does he say?
You shall not pass.
You shall not pass. Karen Nellis, who's recently retired and an honorary assistant at our church. Andra O'Neill, who's a postulant in this diocese, waiting for ordination, and she's a lay pastor at St. Mark's. Todd Townsend, Dean of Theology at Huron University and current candidate to become Bishop of the Diocese of Huron, is taking a time preaching. June Huff, who's the Rector of Ascension out in East Windsor. Matt Martin, our buddy who's on the committee and our champion Elvis impersonator, is going to be taking a 5-minute spot as himself, not as Elvis.
Yeah, he's not singing Elvis.
No, he will be singing Elvis, but not at this.
Yeah.
Right.
Holy Trinity St. Lucan is where he hangs out. Jim Gary, who's a retired Lutheran pastor and honorary associate at Church of the Ascension. Shelley, but it's interesting, we've got clergy, but we've got interesting stuff too, like Shelley Carr. Shelley is a real bike advocate here in the city. You'll see her on Twitter and Facebook, fighting for the rights of bike advocates and so on. So she's coming to speak. Lorena Dixon and Ken Eastwood from CJBK are taking 5 minutes to talk about hope. Ann Jigren, my honorary assistant. Larry Edwards, who's our buddy at Clergy Conference, who's out in, I don't know, Thamesville or Thamesford or whichever one of those that is. And Sandy Harrell, who's a postulant in this diocese. John Marsh, again. Paul Millward, the Dean of the Cathedral. Rabbi Deborah Dressler. Gosh, I don't know. Imam Tawakkul is coming.
Mayor Ed's coming.
Mayor Ed is going to be there.
Yeah.
We got all kinds of people. I won't read them all because there's too many to read, but
that's
it's a real diverse group of people.
Yeah.
Folks, if you can hear that sound, that's the people at Bernie's getting the ice ready for your nice cold gin and tonic. Come on out and get one.
Well, that's great. So that's coming up again, September 11th, 12th, 13th. We want to invite everybody to drop by at any time. It'll be going on 24/7 until Kevy finishes his 55.
Till I drop.
And Children's Night the Wednesday night. And don't forget the wrap-up meal and concert on Friday night starting at about 5 or 6 o'clock or so. So, yeah, it's going to be a great few days. Yeah.
We've got the Thursday night, actually, we've got some folks coming out to do a little sound stage out in the beer garden. So you can come and listen to me flap my gums for a while. And
Does Rick sing? You sing?
I do not.
No?
No, and you do not
Don't want to do that?
No,
Okay.
no.
Because there's always room for more.
No.
What does it mean? Like, I mean, I know you guys have your, like, I mean, this is the thing is I've gotten to know Jesse's journey because I've gotten to know John Davidson because he's a parishioner.
Yeah.
I've gotten to know Anova because I knew Rob and I both know Susie who works there, and we've gotten to know more about what goes on there. But I guess the question for you, Rick, is because you're here, is what does it mean? And I mean, in a way, you'll be able to speak for Anova on this too because you've worked with this charity for so long. What's it like when for you guys, what does it mean when an outside, I mean, this is, I think you guys call them third-party events.
Yes.
Because it's not you guys planning it.
Yeah.
What does it mean for us to be able to do this? How are the ways that this is helpful? What are the ways that you hope to be able to partner with us on this? And maybe share a little bit more about why the work that these charities, and your charity specifically, are doing is so important.
Well, Kevin, I think, the main thrust of what we do is we fund Duchenne muscular dystrophy research. How do we do that? Well, we do it through events like this. We do it through events that families run for us. We do it through fundraisers that we organize, but a lot of them are, as you suggested, third-party events. People have found a reason to come to Jesse's Journey and to Anova and to other organizations because they're either directly impacted by what it is these organizations do, or they have respect and they feel this would be a great spot for me to spend some time, effort, energy, and in some cases money as well. So, what does a charity run on? We run on volunteers, we run on all kinds of things, but we also run on money. So we cannot, not kidding anybody, it costs money to raise money, to fund research, to get done what we get done. And I think people look at this and say, okay, you're making a difference. And when they see an organization that's making a difference, it becomes a much easier thing for people to buy into and for people to support. We would not be here if it wasn't for people like Kevin and people like the families who support us, donors, who go back as far as the walks, and someone that John touched in Halifax, in Nova Scotia, in Calgary. That they'll still send us a $25 check. Wow. When we send out an update on what it is we're doing and so on and so forth. I'm sure it's true for many, many charities. Ours is a bit different, only from the standpoint of we have quite a story, a local story, in what John did and the initiative that John took to make change. And I think when people step back and they look at that, they say, yes, this is something I want to support. Most people don't know what Duchenne muscular dystrophy is. Yeah. Many people saw Jesse for years and years and years around London. They saw him in a wheelchair, and people didn't know what he had. And that's okay, because we weren't here to educate the world on Duchenne muscular dystrophy. We were here to educate the people that there's a cause, there's a problem here. Right. These boys are dying. We need to stop that. And the only way we're going to stop that's through research. And so when John Davidson, who's also very persuasive, speaks to a Kevin, I can only imagine what happens. But we're delighted and we're honored that you've chosen us as one of the charities that you're helping. This will make a difference. This will help fund the research. It will help our programs keep going. But we're not just working on research now. In the last 3 or 4 years, and this is an area I've been more involved with, is on the advocacy front, because there's a number of components to this. When you're an organization that's funding research, is looking for treatments and or a cure for a disease, when those treatments finally come, you want to be sure, as simple as it sounds, that they get to the individuals who need them. Yeah. If you have cancer, you want a treatment for that cancer. Right. If you have diabetes, you want a treatment for your diabetes. If you have Duchenne muscular dystrophy, you also, even though it's not a well-known disease, it's what they call a rare disease, you want a treatment for that. You do not want to be in a position where someone's diagnosed and they have disease X. Here's your 12 choices of how we can treat that disease. Someone's diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and then the room goes quiet. So our job is, now that finally what John started, and not just John, but hundreds of people, hundreds of families, but John was a significant catalyst for this in Canada, to get that research started. And now there's actual results, positive results. There's treatments that are extending the life of these boys. There's treatments that are improving the quality of life for these boys. They're not available in Canada. So if you live in the UK, you can get them. You can get them in the US. You live in Canada, the drugs aren't here, they aren't approved. Yeah. And consequently, that's something else that we have to address.
So how do we address it?
Well, we're trying to address it by lobbying very strongly on behalf of our families, and our families, we're a patient advocacy group, for Health Canada, for all of the organizations involved in the approval process, to build a system that looks at these in a different way than just other drugs and other standardized treatments. The other countries that we've looked at and would like to see a Canadian program modeled after include the United Kingdom, Australia, the US, where there's what they call an orphan drug policy. So if you have a rare disease, the treatment for the disease from the pharmaceutical company gets fast-tracked. And there's other benefits that I won't take time to share with you now. But at least you're getting those, instead of being treated, not being treated, you're getting that fast-tracked. And now, it doesn't mean the drug will be approved, right? But we're not going to hold it up, because in these cases, we talk about life and death. Well, it's life and death. Yeah. In the years it takes, and it's years to go through the process. Yeah. A boy could be walking, feeding himself, doing all kinds of things independently. 3, 4, 5 years later, when that drug finally gets approved, he may be in a wheelchair. He may be unable to feed himself. You cannot regain that. Yeah. When you lose it, you lose it. So time is critical. And so it's great that we have a bureaucracy and that we we go through dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and we're not suggesting for a moment that any safety shortcuts should be taken.
Right.
But our belief is that if it's been approved in the UK, if it's been approved in the US, we're guessing it's not, a grade 9 student in the basement with a chemistry kit that's come up with something, that this is probably okay. Now, does it mean it should be rubber stamped? No. It should be vetted through the Canadian organization. But does it have to take a year?
Right.
And that's our point. And so we're saying, look, how do we get the drugs here and how do we get them here faster and get them to the boys?
Wow.
All right, so there you go. That's just some of the work
So
that's
thank
being
you for
done.
helping
when
us do
people
that.
are,
Hey.
when people are supporting this event, then that's it's important
That's
to hear
one
that,
way you're
to know-
supporting, and I just
to
know,
where
like,
it's going.
with the ANOVA, just hearing and reading some of the news stories about the lack of beds, the need of space, the cuts in provincial funding. The needs are there. At St. Aidan's, I mean, we're doing a 40-40-20 split on this, so 40% of the funds you give are going to ANOVA, 40% are going to Jesse's, 20% are going to St. Aidan's. We've been engaged in work with mental illness, with our seniors, all kinds of people outside of our community, and we've asked the community to dream about how they might be able to use that money beyond the bricks and mortar and so on of the church. So if you're supporting this, you're supporting really good work. And some of you, I guess, may be considering how can you help. Well, you can help by giving, and no amount is too small. And you can do that if you visit www.55, and that's the numeral, 55hoursforhope.blog. You'll be able to be linked to give. You can come to the event. You can buy a beverage. You can see the food trucks. You can donate while you're there. There are all kinds of ways to give to this, and everything you do will be a support to the event. If you're listening around the world, the worldwide internet allows you to be able to help this, and when you help Jesse's Journey, for instance, here in London, you're helping Duchenne research around the world, really, because they're that broad. So if you want to support us, you can just be in touch, and if you look on social media for at 55 Hours for Hope on either Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, you're going to find us, and you'll be able to give those ways as well.
All right. Well, we've eaten up a lot of bandwidth today, Ian, but that's a good thing.
How much are we at,
do.
Ian? Are we an hour into this thing?
Almost, yeah.
Almost an
almost.
hour.
We're
Well, we
in. That's
better
pretty
shut
good.
the hell up.
Yeah, we got to get on to the next thing and
Save the 55 hours for the actual time.
got a little organizing to do before September 11th too.
And if I can just do one more plug about the 55 hours,
Yeah.
we got some really interesting topics going on too. So we're talking about Jesus a racist? Question mark. Or LGBTQ rights? Or are we talking about mass immigration like we talked about earlier? Are we talking about what does it look like to be a community which is present to the mentally ill? All those topics will be teased apart in the midst of the 55 hours. So I'd encourage you to get out and take it all in. And hear some of these folks who are taking the 5 minutes, because it's going to be awesome to hear people like Rob and others take up their 5 minutes and offer their wisdom on hope too.
Great.
Sounds great.
Rick, thanks for dropping by and
my
filling
pleasure.
us in and keeping us up to date with what you're doing and what this is all about.
Rob, thank you.
And Kevin, I'll be chatting with you a lot more between now and September 11th.
We may be in a local establishment
we may be doing that,
having a beverage.
And Ian, time to wrap things up so you can go home and get some sleep after 3 months in the woods.
Yeah.
Thanks again to our sponsors of the Vickers Crossing podcast, Aleppo Restaurant on Wonderland Road in London, and A. Miller George Funeral Home, where every life is celebrated, and their sister company, Cremation London and Middlesex, both family owned and operated. And until we meet again next time in the Vickers Crossing, this is Rob.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Kevin.
And remember, Kevin, look both ways.
Before you cross the street.
Thank you for listening. Our hosts are Kevin George and Rob Henderson. Our producer and composer is myself, Ian, with original artwork done by Catherine Olenek. If you have any questions or want to know where to find us, tweet us at Vickers Crossing or find us on Facebook at The Vickers Crossing. If you have any other questions about anything heard on this podcast, leave us a comment or look in the description to find out more. Thanks.